Do you have your sign-up sheet?
Introduced yourself, and you were here last week. You were the spokesperson for the group. So,
Yeah.
so are you liking this class?
We are.
Are
really,
you?
Yeah, it's really interesting because he makes learning about like current events and what's going on, not just locally, but internationally with in a broad array of issues. Really interesting.
He's a cool teacher.
Yeah, he's really cool.
Awesome.
Now, are you both in the speech and debate team?
We're in the class, not
Just
on
the class.
Yeah.
Well, and the reason I asked about this, I was hopeful that it wouldn't just be kids on the team who took the class.
Yeah.
Because there's a huge.
I think there's a lot of kids that aren't in the class that
In the-
are on the team.
That are okay. That's good. That's what we would want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we'd want it to be just the team because
Right.
that's overkill.
Yeah.
And if kids not on the team felt as though they didn't belong in the course, then that wouldn't be good. So I'm glad to hear it. Good.
Okay.
Okay.
Would you mind if we talked about the Dylan Cossey issue and how it related to the media, how the media handled it?
No, certainly we can talk about that.
Okay, awesome. So as the principal of PW, how did you feel and what were your reactions when you saw how the media was covering the issue?
It was very frustrating because it seemed to be that the media was totally exaggerating the situation. There was so much exaggeration. The student had never been to school here. The student wasn't in a situation where he could have actually created any harm in the building, and yet the descending of the media from as far away as New York City. There was a Spanish-speaking TV station was here, and it created so much. And what troubled me the most about it was the anxiety and fear that it created among our students and their parents, and it was very intrusive as well. So it totally disrupted what should be a productive, comfortable, safe, secure situation for 1,600 young people under our care. So it was very disruptive.
How did most of the parents find out about the situation?
Well, the unfortunate thing in this situation, this was another media problem. We didn't know about this until at about 9 o'clock. Of course, the police knew about it the night before and during the night, but we had no information, we meaning the district administrators. We got a little bit of very sketchy information in the morning, but we're told that the White Marsh Police would be here to explain it to us at 9 a.m. Well, the Plymouth Police Department actually issued a press release at about 7 a.m. So parents actually knew information. They were hearing about it before we had a chance to tell anybody about it here. So we were actually sitting here in this very room being informed of the details of this situation by the police department when, because of the press release to the media, which was done earlier and we didn't know, people already had information about it. So people were upset with us that we hadn't informed them, but we hadn't been informed ourselves yet until that time. And then we made the decision after this lengthy meeting with the police, and when they reassured us that the building was safe, they explained everything, and certainly we knew that they wouldn't have allowed us to run school if they thought there was any chance whatsoever that there was danger here. But we decided to wait until I-Block to do an announcement to the students, just to try to not make things any more disruptive and to keep things calm. That was our goal. When you have 1,600 people, it's so important to keep things calm. And we were trying to do that. Well, as it turned out, parents were hearing it on the news. And they were texting their kids, and then they started to call. So we did a message at that time as well that went home. But by then, the communication already was very confusing.
Yeah.
And it made the situation worse instead of better.
Definitely. Did the media know at that point when the Plymouth Township Police issued a press release? Did they know that you guys didn't know about the situation yet?
I'm sure they did.
Okay.
I'm sure they didn't. Here's one of the things that may have resulted in that was that there were 2 police departments involved.
Oh.
The incident that the young man lived in Plymouth Township, so it was really the Plymouth Police who were doing most of the work there. We're located in White Marsh Township, so it was the White Marsh police coming to tell us about it.
Right.
And we were looking at the press release when they came, but we weren't told that it had already been released.
Right. What did you think of the countless news vans and news stations that were parked outside of the high school?
It seemed totally unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, and you know what's really unfortunate and what's really sad about this, and I think, is that there are a lot of topics that would benefit from more coverage by the media.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I was thinking about this last week after our assembly where Jordan Burnham was here speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And his message was that probably 1 in 5 young people has a mental health need at some time or other in their life. And so that means it's pretty prevalent, right?
Mm-hmm.
That all individuals have needs now and then, and that because of stigmas and fear and many, many reasons, we don't get the help we need. So there is a need for more communication. There's a need for media attention just about mental health, the kinds of services that are available. That's a productive use of media coverage so that people would be more comfortable with the topic, and people who felt they needed help would reach out and get it. You know, what we learned from Jordan was there are a lot of young people who don't reach out because they think they're the only person who is feeling this way, or they're ashamed to ask for help. So, but what the media does is they only look at extreme cases. They publicize things that are so extreme and remote. So they were paying attention and creating hype, almost, I think, about something that wasn't a real threat to us. Certainly, it was very unfortunate what this young man was going through. But for you know, there's so many kids who need help and would benefit from more media awareness and attention to just the topic of mental health.
Why do you think they only focus on the extremes and these particular situations?
Well, I guess to some extent they want the most compelling story, and to some extent that may be because of the reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps at this point, I really don't know the reason for it. It might be that people have so much information available today that they have to do something that's that dramatic in order for people to really talk about it and pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure it's partly because of just that's the strategy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the primary strategy. It's getting the story first,
Mm-hmm.
and getting the most compelling or unique information out there. And that would be because then you're competing with the other media outlets, and with the belief that more people are then paying attention to it. To me, that's a short-term goal, though, as opposed to what's really a long-term contribution that we can make for the betterment of our communities. And that would be the ongoing news stories.
Right.
But I do suppose it's to some extent because people do react.
Why do you think people react to it that way? Do you think that what I'm trying to say is, do you think that the media shows this because people fear it, or do you think people fear it because the media shows it?
I think the media creates a lot of the fear. So it's probably a vicious cycle.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly, that's what happened that day.
Mm-hmm.
The media created fear where there was no reason for any fear whatsoever.
Okay. And in doing what they do you think the media goes too far?
Absolutely. And that's a definite situation. And even when I think about the intrusiveness, and I know specifically, it wasn't just that day, but every time there was a court appearance or there was some other development related to the incident of October 11, I know that they were in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
They were on the doorsteps of the families who were involved. So absolutely, I think they go too far.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sullivan.
You're welcome.
That was perfect.